This is the Running Channel podcast with Andy, I've got a 2-metre stride Baddeley, Sarah Hollybobs Hartley, and Rick, I couldn't trust you two on your own without me, Kelsey, so I didn't go away.
Yeah.
You've heard him right. He literally cancelled his holiday because he didn't trust us.
It's more that he didn't trust us not to stitch him up and to talk about him in a way that he didn't appreciate.
So we're so sorry. 59 episodes and we're still on the hunt for an episode without Rick. But
I went to Essex.
We talk about him
you're
pushing
here
the
now.
buttons over there, and then I had to force him to do a sound check before we started rolling. He's like, "Oh yeah, I should do that," and then Sarah's mic wasn't on.
She was on mute.
Yeah.
I'm surprised you're just not sat there with sunnies on in the corner with a little like fake sun lamp, trying to imitate what you would have had if you were in Tenerife.
And I've got an amazing set of notes here for the podcast, but the first one, which only happened a few minutes ago, was you walked in, looked at Sarah, and just went, "You look nice for a podcast."
She does look nice.
Okay, so today we're going to be talking about how to run your perfect race, which Sarah wanted to talk about because she's very smug because you feel like you did exactly this.
It finally
at the
happened.
weekend.
All of the stars aligned. I feel like I finally had that race experience where I've come away thinking that was great.
Amazing.
It's so good. So I want to unpick it because I have had so many bad race experiences that I feel like if I just spiel what I did, someone might be able to learn something from it.
This is where superstitions come from as well, though.
Yeah.
This is where a lot of my race superstitions ended up coming from. I think you absolutely smash it and then you're like, okay, well, I definitely need to do it. I need to try and repeat exactly. But yeah, I reckon we can get some good advice out of this one. But first, Rick, how's your weekend of running been?
Well, I did a 10K as well, so I'm interested to hear about Sarah's. We went to Essex, right?
Okay.
You know when you sometimes you go away with friends who you don't normally run with, and you realise your friends are really fast, like potentially quite a bit faster than you. Like, I've known you for years and didn't realise how fast you were. Like, mate mine, Alex Mitchell, he runs under 20 minutes on a 5K, and I was like, what? How on earth are you this fast? But anyway, went to Essex. We found something that we didn't think existed in Great Britain. So obviously we have
Somewhere that didn't know who Rick Kelsey from the Running Channel was.
Potentially, we have a split British and Canadian family. Our family is mix of British and Canadians, right? So we finished the race and we thought we'll just get some food, and we saw this sign and we couldn't believe what it was. Do you know what it is?
I love how you're getting us so excited to guess.
Do you know what it is?
What
a Canadian eatery. Andy, you must know this.
A Canadian eatery?
What's a Canadian eatery?
I don't know what's
Tim Hortons.
I didn't know it was Canadian.
Tim Hortons.
There's one in the UK.
There's one in the UK.
Yeah, there's loads of them, yeah.
What?
Yeah.
I didn't know there was one in the UK.
It's not
there's
like
loads
you haven't found the only Tim Hortons in the UK.
Really?
Yeah.
We stayed all day because we thought it was the only one. We had lunch as well.
I'm pretty sure they're all over the place.
Pretty sure it's the only one.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean...
Hang on, we've got to verify this.
We're going to have to put an edit here while Sarah Googles whether there's more than one Tim Hortons.
Because we were just walking around it, just going, this is amazing.
Well, like it was some kind of museum to Canadian culture.
It was just incredible. If you don't know what Tim Hortons is, by the way, they do really tasty bread of all types.
Okay, that
quite
doesn't
sugary.
sound like that one.
Tasty.
I'm sure. Did you write their tagline?
Oh my God. Rick, there are so many.
Are you serious? Oh my God, we just wasted a day.
Should we do a Running Channel podcast from each of the Tim Hortons in the UK?
Do you want to know the best thing as well?
I thought there was
It's
just one in Harlow and Essex.
You live,
Absolutely not.
You live quite north of London, right?
Yeah.
There is one in Kentish Town.
No way.
His face.
That's so close to where you live. You've also got one near St Albans, out west towards Wembley.
And we've booked a trip there for spring and everything. Well, the one in Harlow,
Valentine's Day,
the one in
wedding anniversary.
the one in Harlow in Essex is amazing. Anyway,
How was your 10K there?
Yeah,
We're supposed to talk about running.
back to running.
53 minutes 50 seconds.
Oh, so you've done the
Nice.
opposite of what annoys a lot of people. So I said, how was your 10K?
Yeah.
I didn't ask you your time. So because a lot of people get
Yeah, what does-
get annoyed that if the first thing you ask someone after they've done a race or a marathon, oh, what time did you run? They're like, oh no, but it's not about the time. I had a good experience doing it. But
Yeah.
you've gone straight in with the time. So clearly you're quite happy with that.
Well, because it was so muddy that.
Oh, and the excuses are coming now.
No, because if you
That's
get
such
a
a good
half decent
time.
time
Yeah.
when it's really muddy.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
it's like just
yeah.
under 54. So I was like, yeah, well, it was absolutely filthy. I mean, our children were so muddy we weren't sure if they were ours.
I know what that's like.
They were definitely in a red coat.
They were in a
Their
red
coat is
coat.
now brown.
Well,
Just scrape away the mud.
speaking of that, I have to give a special shout out to a lady called Ellie from Lincolnshire.
Oh, yeah.
Who emailed into the podcast.
Flat counter.
And this is just purely for her postscript. So P.S. Andy, as a primary school teacher, I just wanted to say a special thank you to you for populating our classroom with lots of children so that no teacher in the country will be out of work. I mean...
Yeah, he's got so many kids, he has to send each 5 into a different county.
Brilliant. And they will only eat at Tim Hortons.
Yeah.
Thankfully, there's hundreds of those around the UK. So we're all
Surely
okay.
they're going to sponsor us by next week now.
Right.
Imagine.
So I didn't do a 10K.
No?
You didn't?
But I'd had a week or so off running. I did a really good speed workout, and then I had a little operation. So any eagle-eye viewers, I have got a little scar here on my head. But then, so I had to have a week off running because it was too sore. And then when I got back into it, I'd really missed it. So I was like, I was feeling a bit itchy to get out there. So I did a very easy 5K on Friday, then nearly 10 miles Saturday, and nearly 10 miles Sunday.
That's a lot.
Very proud of myself, and I'm exhausted now.
How's your head?
My head it's all right. I can't move this side of my forehead, so I imagine this sort of half of my face is roughly how you feel after all of the cosmetic treatments that you have.
I'm so glad you
Sorry,
guys
I'm
have really
smiling.
been able to bot.
Yeah, can't tell. That hurts a little bit if I laugh. So if you guys could be a little bit less ridiculous today,
Oh, yeah,
that would help me out.
Sorry.
Absolutely not.
So yeah, that was my weekend. Now I'm pretty tired from it.
And you're currently training towards a mile. So how does it feel to be, obviously, like, this has been a little hiccup in the training, but how does it feel to be back in like mile training territory?
Yeah, well, I'm not sure those 2 10-mile runs are massively going to help me, but they help me get my mojo back to feel like I'm getting out there. The fastest stuff's been good. What's not been good is, I'm running the podium event.
The podium
It's
event?
called a podium Racing Festival in the middle of March.
In Leicester. I love how my Instagram is just flooded with like, announced, this person is running it.
Yeah.
And then I'm just like, and Andy.
Yeah, so this is something that I wanted to bring up because it's a little bit embarrassing. Podium did put out like a list of the people running that's a 1 mile time trial, and there's like 10 names on it, and it says the favourites, and it's all of these people that are knocking out 4-minute miles for fun at the moment.
Yeah.
And me.
Are you in the list of favourites?
Yes. and I. Yeah, thanks, Sarah. That's the support I needed.
No, as in like you're doing it for fun, but like back when you were a professional athlete, you obviously would have been the favourite. But this is like, should we make
What can
Andy
you do
suffer
now?
for
What
between
can you
4
do?
and 5 minutes?
Oh, well, I shouldn't say too. I think I talked about it on a previous podcast, but we are going to be doing a sweepstake ahead of the event, and there's some incredible prizes to win if people can guess my finishing time. So I shouldn't give too much of a leading, but I am going to be a good 20 to 30 seconds behind the winners, probably. That might give a little bit of gauge. So that's a bit of an advantage to podcast listeners.
and a little bit of an advantage as well if you're listening or watching this. Back in the day, Andy ran 3:49.
Yeah.
So it's not going to be that. so don't guess any
But
faster
saying
than
that,
that.
they've just taken a chunk out of his head, so you might be a bit lighter.
Yeah, and more aerodynamic. Actually, it's a
Yeah,
little bit like it's
You
like
know when
when
people-
you rucked a carpet up or something. It's sort of a little.
You know when people talk about running form and they're like, imagine a string coming out the top of your head. You can just pull one of your stitches out.
I had to get my wife to cut one of the stitches off. It was like dangling off my head. That's love.
They've done a lovely job of following your hairline, actually.
Yeah, they had to go
Yeah,
quite a long
I
way
said
back
that.
for that. But no, back to the favourites thing on I felt like embarrassed that they were in any way, like as if those guys on the start line are going to be quaking in their boots that I'm showing up. It's been so long since I've run
At
a
least though
competitive mile.
it's like a cycling time trial, isn't it? It's not
Yes.
like you're all lined up, elbows at the ready and going. It's
Yeah.
just like one after the other.
It'd be like playing one of those computer games where someone forgets to press go at the start as they all race off into the distance, and there's me just chugging along behind.
What's the ground underneath you?
It's a road surface, so it's like I think it's a roughly 900 meter kind of quite wide, sweeping. I don't know if it's actually like a velodrome or some kind, but it's
Nice.
it's going to be fast, and it'll be the fastest mile I've run in a long, long time.
and we're
hopefully.
making a video about it, so it's going to be good.
Yes.
When is this?
16th?
Yeah, 16th of March. Yeah,
Oh, I'm excited.
you're going to
Like
come watch.
Oh, if 16th of March.
Oh, look at his face! Rick's
He's like, oh no, I wanted to pretend that I'm interested
I'm
and
so
support you.
pumped.
One of my other jobs. We've got the trousers on already.
He's booked in
Oh,
Harley
you're
Street
not
for another
going to
clinical.
sell windows today then?
No. I
no.
did that yesterday, double glazing.
Right. Wrong
your-
coat.
Wrong coat.
Yeah. He's got his Del Boy coat. Okay, so that was my weekend of running, and let's, I guess, get on to your weekend of running, Sarah, which is the subject for this video, which is how to run the perfect race. So, I mean, pretty bold statement from you saying you've run the perfect race. It's so much so we're doing a whole video about it.
Well, I'm going to go in. I'm going to be punchy. We were talking about, and we've got a question later on about like running mojo, and I really felt like I lost it last year, and like I feel like this was the race where I was like, I'm back. I'm loving it, and I think actually what's most important to me about this is that I didn't run a sub something. So like I set out to do a 10K race that I was absolutely petrified for.
Why were you worried?
Because so a few years ago we did a whole series on me running a sub 45-minute 10K. Yeah. And for the last few months I've just been thinking like that was a blip. Like I don't know who that person was.
Because to be able to run that fast?
Yeah, because that speed just feels so far away from what I'm capable of doing.
We were reliving that the other day. I think that's I was sort of crying after that event. It was I was just a mess, and I don't think I'd realised until we got there. One, the track always gives me that kind of slightly like supercharged feeling of emotion. Like it's a visceral place for me to be at a running track. And then I realised that when you were there running a 10K with 4 different pacemakers, everyone was there to watch you. We had a few hundred people come down. I was like, we've put Sarah under quite a lot of pressure here.
It was quite a lot of pressure, yeah. But strangely, I remember going into that and like, spoiler alert if you haven't watched the series, I ran 45 minutes and 12 seconds for that race, which is probably the most gutting run I've ever done. But it was still incredible. Like in what other, unless you're a professional athlete, like in what other situation do you get like 250 people watching you run? It was like 26
degrees on a
and it was
weeknight in August or whatever it was. Absolutely brutal.
And I remember then like 2 weeks later, I like gave myself time to recover. I think I went on holiday for a week, and then I came back and was like, I've got something to prove. And I went to the track at 7 a.m. It was raining, so much colder, and ran like 44:52, I think. There was no one else. There was like 2 other people on the track. And I got to the end and was like properly out of breath. And they were like, you okay? And I was like, yeah, don't mind me. Just proving something to myself. But that was 2022, I think.
Yes.
And since then, like 10K hasn't been a focus. I haven't really looked at that as a speed, and I've always been like, oh well, I did that on the track, so I don't think I'd ever be able to do that on the roads.
And we talked about how you just lost the will to run really at the end of last year. At the end of 2023 you were really struggling with like a sense of purpose and what to actually bother getting out there with structure. But now that you've got actual structured training plan, it's sort of paid dividends over a distance that you're actually not training for.
Yeah. And I've got like, I think last year, I've said this before, I was just trying to train so much that I just got, I don't know, bored, lost, like I ran out of steam basically. Whereas I took time off, just completely just tried to run for fun. And then ever since January 1st, I've been like, right, this is all systems go up until April for London Marathon. And then that's it. I can switch. I can do whatever I want to do. It's more fun. And so that's given me like such good purpose in training to actually go for something that's a bit scary. So I guess we should talk about the race.
Yes.
Also for context, I feel like I ran 2 perfect races at the weekend.
Oh, hello.
Not to be even
races.
more.
Yeah. What do you mean?
No,
within the same race?
No, so I ran 2 10Ks at the weekend. On Saturday, I ran a 10K with our videographer Tito, which was a race going all out. And then on Sunday, I did my easy run, which was also 10K for the week. And I went and did the London Winter Run with Anna, and we were filming her. It was her last race that she's going to do before she has her baby. And it was, again, like the perfect race, but just for completely different goals. So fun. We went into it. We just had a party. We were clock watching, but just to make sure that Anna like had a pace that she wanted to stick to, and we were making sure that we didn't go off too fast at the start and get excited.
Anna the whole way.
Yeah, and again, it was me and Tito. So like me and Tito were filming her, just supporting her the whole way around the race.
So it was quite a nice pace then.
Yeah, but it was just like lovely. Like I would highly recommend, if you've only raced 4 times, sign up to something and just go and run it for fun. Especially something like that race had 22,000 people.
It's a really nice race though, isn't it?
It's so nice. Like there were polar bears, there were huskies to high five. Like there were so many choirs out on the route, like little activations. It was genuinely just so much fun. And also I've never raced a 10K that big before, so it felt so strange to be like in a closed road event with
22,000 people.
With 22,000 people, and then you're done in like an hour
So
and
was
a half.
that the perfect race, or was Saturday your perfect race?
I think it was kind of both. But so Saturday was the perfect race in terms of I wanted a PB. So
But, okay, so you were going round at full pace.
Mm-hmm.
So you were all out on Saturday.
That was
You were all
full
out.
send,
And then
yeah.
Sunday was it was a light, fun, enjoy. Weren't we?
yeah,
You weren't
yeah,
looking
yeah,
at your watch.
Saturday was run as hard as I possibly
Okay.
can.
And
Sunday
did you run as
was
hard as you
pure
possibly could?
vibes. I think so, yeah.
Hang on, I'm going to have to pick you. Did you do both in the space of one sentence? Use the phrases full send and pure vibes.
Yeah. Am I cool enough to pull that off?
Actually, I didn't
Well, I mean,
even-
you're cooler than me and Rick.
I
but-
didn't even
Do you
notice
even
it.
know-
I didn't even notice it. Went straight over my head.
Seamlessly.
What was the first one? Pure what?
Pure vibes.
Pure vibes, yeah.
What does that mean?
Pure vibes.
Yeah.
So it was great.
Just like this podcast, it's pure
Yeah.
vibes.
Pure
Pure vibes.
vibes.
Yeah.
And then full send.
Full send, you were all out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah, see, Rick gets it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I understood it. I just don't think-
Probably wouldn't use that on Times Radio, but
Oh, plug.
Oh my God, I would pay you so much money to try and slip that in.
I think both of those, if you can get those
So
into a show.
it's just coming up to 10:30 p.m. Hope you're enjoying the pure vibes. Now for the news.
Next up, we've got the Chancellor. And if you didn't know, I've interviewed the last 6 prime ministers.
Full send.
Yeah, we know you scrabbled around for a few minutes on last week's podcast to find something you were proud of as an achievement.
some of them were pure vibes. Some of them weren't.
I would like to know which of the last 6 prime ministers in the UK you would describe as pure vibes.
Back to running.
Back to running. So to break down Saturday, the aim.
I'm just trying to end Rick's career.
The aim on Saturday was to absolutely go all out.
Yeah.
And I had signed up to this race literally like at the start of the week because I'd looked at my training plan in Runner, and on my long run for that week was like a 14k run at a comfortable pace. But they also have like a little bit of text in like your section of your run. And basically it was like, this is a deload week. If you want to do a race, you can. Here's the pace that we recommend you go off at. And it was like 4:30 per kilometre.
So it's exactly 45 minutes.
Yeah. And I was like, oh, okay, interesting.
Prior to this race, what was your road 10k PB? You talked about those kind of track efforts before. What was your road 10k PB?
So it was the time trial or like benchmark run that I did for the sub 45 minute series, which I think was either 47 or 48 minutes.
So even that wasn't official though, right? That was like us timing it on your...
No, because I'd also done one before we did the series with
really?
Mo. I went and did a race.
Okay.
We didn't film it, but I was like, Mo, I'm rescheduled. You want to come pace me for a 10k?
And so
He
what was
like,
the time? Sorry, 47,
I think,
48?
yeah, for like 47, 48 minutes.
Okay. So then
And
you were
that
going to...
was like right at the start of, that was like a good, like almost 2 years ago.
Right.
Okay.
So you're pretty confident when, you see something in the app that says like, just crack on, 4:30 per kilometre. That's a little bit intimidating.
Yeah, but also it's that weird mix of like, I feel like if you look at something and it scares you, you've got 2 options. You can either go like, no, that's not for me, or you have to kind of boldly go, right, I'm going to give this a go. And
Is that what
kind
that
of,
is? 4:30 a kilometre.
yeah,
Straight.
yeah. 4:30 per kilometre, which what had given me confidence is the run that I did with you, where
Yeah.
we did 5k. That was pretty much almost, what did it end up being, like 4:36?
Yeah.
What time did you run in the end?
Well, 23:16. So
Yeah, so 22:30 would be 4:30s.
Yeah. So like
Bit
that
more.
was again a little bit further away, but like close to that pace. And then also
and you were talking the whole way around.
yeah. So that like gave me a bit of confidence. But then I was like, I DNF'd a 5k in the same
Did not finish.
acronyms. Also, someone asked us about DOMS, which we didn't describe
Delayed
last
It's very
week.
naughty 'cause
Muscle
it's-
soreness. Yeah.
Sorry.
So essentially the pain that you get in your legs a few days after, delayed
Yeah.
onset muscle soreness, DOMS, onset muscle soreness, straight away pain, OMS.
Definitely not a thing though. We've made that
No,
up, I
not a
think.
thing.
Yeah.
That's just
But we pride
that's the
ourselves on kind of the no jog and no acronym kind of status of the podcast.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
absolutely pull us up if we talk about something that...
you don't understand. Also,
yeah.
Gavi is a wine.
Yeah, so many people...
So
Rick
many
bangs on about his Gavi obsession as to what
I
it
feel
is.
like we need a little
Not
like
Gaviscon.
we need. Oh
You'll
my
need
God.
it, the amount of...
I mean, by the end of the night, it's probably both. But yeah, we need a little like key
Yeah, like a glossary of...
glossary of running channel
yeah.
terms. But anyway, what was I saying? Yeah, so I was semi-confident, but I knew I needed to put a few other things in place. So that's why I spent all week pestering Tito to sign up to the same race. Yes. And by Thursday, I'd persuaded him.
And for context, so we were having a bit of banter in the office last week about it ahead of this
Yeah.
race because Tito's best was around 48, 49 minutes, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
From literally a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
He'd run that and he was like, that was all out, absolutely all out. I was on the floor afterwards. And
but in terms of over a marathon, last year you both ran a very, very similar marathon within a few seconds of each other.
10 seconds faster than me over the marathon.
Doesn't hurt you at all, does it?
No. Well, it's all right. Manchester and London this year.
Yeah,
He's
so
doing
again,
Manchester,
you're going
I'm doing
head to head with him.
Head to head again. So it's kind of, we've got like such good friendly rivalry, apart from the fact that he's 20 years older than me. So,
nothing wrong with that.
But anyway, yeah, the fact that I should definitely be faster, but it's fine. He is incredible.
He's got a good skincare regime.
You can pick his brains afterwards.
Yeah, so he's the same age as you, mate.
Yeah, so he's incredible. So I persuaded him to sign up. There was a friendly bit of rivalry, and we just had a plan to set off together and to try and like hold the pace. And then we went into this race, and my plan was to do perfect negative splits, starting off at 4:40, finishing up at 4:20 per kilometre, because that would then equal 4:30. So like 2.5k at 4:40, 2.5k at 4:25, 2.5k at 35, 2.5k at 4:25. 2.5k at 4:20.
Okay.
We set off. Kilometre 1, 4:33.
Okay.
Oops.
That's really fast.
Yeah.
That was a bit too fast. And then,
It's quite hard to be accurate within
It is
5 seconds though, isn't it?
yeah. But I was using lap pace.
Perfect.
Absolute game changer. Kilometre 2, also 4:33.
But did
Still
you do
Okay,
this?
thinking-
metronomic though.
Still thinking, oops.
Yeah.
Yeah, but did you do this, Sarah? Because to be fair to you, you are a great running companion, but you're not great on the lap pacing, are you? You push it a little bit tight.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we almost wasted a day.
Is
I
this just-
almost didn't do the 5K. You were amazing. You were brilliant.
Yeah.
But we pushed it a bit too close.
I think that's you, mate. I don't think we did. I think
Don't you
we did
think
it.
so?
No.
You can't run your best ever time without feeling like you've pushed it really close.
Really good. I suppose so. Yeah.
You have to get
no.
comfortable with being
No, you
uncomfortable.
were amazing. I've said, but you
You
your
texted that
times
the day after.
Sorry, I texted her the day after. She was
Yeah.
amazing yesterday.
Yeah.
But 4:33.
Yeah.
So you weren't that far out.
No. So we
you've
were
gained
pretty
7
close.
seconds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hang on. I'm going to get the proper splits up so that I can do this blow by blow.
You did send me this, and I feel like it does merit the kind of running the perfect race
Yeah.
title. I think you absolutely smashed it.
Yeah, because we were, so like 4:33, 4:33, 4:31, 4:31, 4:28, 4:28, 4:28, 4:26, 4:25.
Whoa.
Then at the end, 4:15. Why not?
Oh my gosh.
So
you
it
basically
was
ran
like,
negative splits the whole way through.
But
Yeah,
just
and-
for eagle-eyed viewers that would add up those maths and think that was sub 45. This was on your watch, right? So
Yeah,
you
that
have
was
got to
on
make
my-
allowances for the weaving and the fact you're actually going to. Once you cross the line, it probably took you a little bit longer because you didn't break 45 minutes, did you?
no, so we ran, but that's also why I think it was the perfect race. We ran 45:08.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Yes,
Smashed it.
in an ideal world, I would love to run a sub 45-minute 10K in a racing environment, but it was 4 laps. There was a lot of overtaking to be done.
That's
and
incredible.
we genuinely, like, at no point during that race until about 8K did I think a 45 something or a 44 something is even remotely possible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you do you think that because 4 laps, I find laps mentally tough in a race, but in terms of pacing, laps make it easier. So did you think that helped?
Yeah, I think it did help. That was so like if I was going to add up what I thought made it perfect. One, running with someone else.
Yeah.
Because we literally, without speaking, took it in turns to pace. Like
Right.
I am
nice.
terrible in certain sections. So I kept us back for the first kilometre.
Yeah.
I feel like Tito was pushing too hard. Then for kilometres 2 and 3, I had a bit of a wobble. Tito just kept us on metronomic.
Yeah.
4 and 5, it was me. 6 and 7, it was him. 8 and 9, and then 10, I was like, do you have a sprint finish in you? And he was like, no. Do you? And I was like, no. So we just like ran it in together and like crossed the line together.
You crossed the line together. Funny story though here. What time did you get?
45:08,
What time did Tito get?
45:07.
And I asked him about this morning.
So, this is the last race I run with Tito, right?
This is the best thing ever.
He was like, oh, this is so great. What a great time. What did he do? It's quite a tight little funnel when you start off. So he waited, purposefully let me go first over the timing mat so that he knew if we crossed the line together, his time would be faster. And that
He's an evil genius.
is horrible.
That's how to run,
Tito.
So he's
I've always liked
still
him.
faster.
that's how to run the
Yeah.
perfect race, is to be an evil genius at
Yeah.
the same time.
So if you want to run the perfect race, tips of what I did. 1, choose something that's scary. Just go for it. It doesn't matter if it goes well or not. 2, get someone to run with you. especially if it's like someone where you're too socially awkward to say that you want to stop. That will keep you going.
Even better, yeah. You are incredibly socially awkward.
Yeah. Yeah. 3, try and run negative splits. Don't go out too fast. There were a lot of people who we let overtake us, or who we saw overtake us in the first couple of kilometres, who we re-overtook at the end because they'd overcooked it. We've all been there.
Don't underestimate the psychological power of that as well. I hated it in my marathon being overtaken at the end. That's the main reason I want to do it again.
Yeah.
But the power of passing people towards the end because you've got your pacing right is so motivating, and you gain so much time.
And also 4, like, yes, a 10K, if you've run marathons, a 10K feels like a shorter race, but treat it like a marathon in your like diligent preparation. Like, I woke up a long time before the race, had breakfast.
Yeah.
Make sure I cleared myself out.
Oh, that's enough. That is a horrible expression. A horrible expression.
Had a gel beforehand, which I'd never done before.
Yeah.
And then like wore full race day kit, like properly got into the zone.
And you warmed up as well, right? You didn't just rock up and then run 10K. You did
We
proper
ran
warm-up.
2K before a 10K.
Yeah.
Never done that before.
Incredible.
Did it work? Yes.
Yeah.
Did some warm-up stretches
yes,
and
exactly.
everything. It's almost as if the stuff we say on here really does work. But as Rick gets increasingly more annoyed that we've overrun, this is the Running Channel podcast. Up next, we've got your questions. Very good ones to answer this week. But first, some news.
Okay, so my news story is about a Scottish 800-metre runner called Guy Learmonth, who has not pulled any punches. And I quite like to see this, actually, like people holding the national governing body accountable for decisions that they made in selection. Have you seen this story?
Yeah.
No.
So he said it was disgusting that he was omitted from the World Indoors. So he's a Scottish athlete. The World Indoor Championships in March are in Glasgow, so they're home championships. And the British team that's been named is very, very small. So just from my perspective, I think that's a shame to not take more people to a global championships when it's at home, especially in an Olympic year.
Because they can't afford it.
Well, I mean, I don't think they would say that, but yeah, there are definitely have been in the last few years sort of financial dire straits for UK athletics as a governing body, British athletics. But it's quite rare to see an athlete speak out as vehemently as Guy has. So what's happened here is, and I can see both sides of this, to be fair. Sometimes I always hated the politics of selection for championships. Like we've talked about it before. If you had the qualifying time and then you win the trial, then you get picked.
Yeah.
They have to pick you. It's in the selection policy. Guy was pipped on the line in the selection trials. And I'm not sure he had the qualifying time either, so it became even more complicated. So I think he finished second in the trial. But then he, off his world ranking this year, he was offered an invite to the World Championships by World Athletics, the global governing body.
Yeah.
And British Athletics declined that. So they said they wouldn't take him. And they're basically saying that they would only take people who would likely get a medal or finish top 8. And so he's very cross about this and feels like it's a kind of personal decision.
Because he had an invite.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it also, like, if you drill down into the stats of it, there was something like they had 6 invites. They accepted 5, and his was the only one that's...
Yeah, that's why I think he's got a point about the person. He has spoken out before against the governing body, and in my experience, even 10, 15 years ago, when you did that, like you became sort of almost persona non grata and like wouldn't get picked. But then if nobody ever speaks up against decisions that get made, then no change ever happens. So I feel from here, it's really difficult because what we were always told and what I always operated on the premise of was like, make it cut and dry for the selectors. So if I wanted to go to the Olympics, you run the time, you win the trial. They don't have a choice, regardless of whether they like you or not, or feel like you're going to win a medal or any of that.
Yeah.
They have to
cut
pick
and dry, let him in.
So that's the tough thing. So yeah, I feel sorry for him, especially one of his very first trips abroad was with me. We stayed in a house together out in California in the US back in 2012.
Oh, really?
So our careers overlapped as I was sort of coming to the end of my career and he was just starting out. So
that's a shame.
Sending my best to Guy, I guess.
So I've got a very different story, and one that I felt like we had to talk about on the podcast because it's so sad and it makes me so angry that this keeps on happening. But there have been a few instances recently of women out for a run getting killed. And a specific one that I want to talk about is Laken Hope Riley, who was a nursing student out in the US who went out for a run and has been murdered. And it just brings up this whole, I don't even know if you can call it a debate because it's a thing that we should have. Women's safety on a run is not there. And I think what makes me even more annoyed about this specific case is that she'd done everything right. Like, she went on a known running route in the middle of the day. Her friends knew that where she was, and she still got murdered. And it wasn't even, the police don't even think it was a premeditated thing. They think it was an opportunistic
Yeah, I saw that
killer.
Description of opportunistic, which is terrifying that that someone being on a run could be considered kind of opportunity for murder. And
Yeah.
you've spoken about it before, and Rick and I as male runners haven't experienced it in the same way, but still are kind of standing in solidarity with anyone out there who has felt threatened on a run or feels worried about this, because it shouldn't be on anyone going out for a run, whether that's a woman or not, to have to take precautions. It should be a societal thing where we change and make it a safe place to run, but at the moment it doesn't feel like that.
So please just take 10 minutes out of your day to find out a little bit more about this, or speak to, at the right moment, a female runner that you know and ask them about their experiences.
And we're not saying that this has happened to everybody, but there's enough instances out there that we should talk about it.
Yeah.
Definitely. Now on to questions. Rick.
Tim from the US, Philly specifically. My question is, when you go for a run, are you guys a sock, then shoe, or sock, shoe, then sock, shoe? And an additional question is, if you guys like to untie your shoes after a run, or do you just like to forcefully slip them off and either untie and tie them again when you go for a run again, or do you just keep your shoes tied? Firstly, congratulations for everybody who understands what Tim is talking about.
So he's talking
I
about
do it.
when you get ready for a run, what order
Yeah.
are you doing stuff in?
I get it.
Yeah,
I get
and
it.
I've got a very strong opinion on this, so I'm going to let
really?
you guys go first. Yeah.
I am sock, shoe.
Rick?
Sock, shoe.
Thank you very much. That's excellent. We are doing it the right way.
Are you about to say if you're a sock, shoe, what are you doing?
Yes. Sock, shoe, psychopath.
See,
if
I
you're a
wouldn't-
sock, shoe, psychopath, please email into podcast@running.com because I want to know who you are and why you're
I've
doing
never
it.
heard Andy have such a strong opinion. I thought Rick was going to be a sock, shoe, and I
Yeah,
tell
'cause
you
he's
for
a
why.
psychopath.
No, and I tell you why, because you live in a very clean home. So I would assume that you just walk around barefoot.
I do.
And then when you're going to go out for a run, you get your socks, put a sock on, put your shoe on, put a sock on, put your shoe on. Because if you're doing it all in one go, I don't really have a problem with that. But you see, what I do is I get dressed for a run from, t-shirt, shorts, socks, and then I procrastinate for about 2 hours, and then I put my shoes on. But I'm not walking around my house
But
in my
that's the
shoes
second part of
procrastinating.
Tim's question, though, Sarah. So putting the shoes on,
Yeah.
for some shoes, would you keep them tied? For example, my gym shoes, I leave them tied all the time. So I go and do S&C, they're tied
Really?
up, slip them on. But my running shoes, pull them out,
Yeah.
and then have a really tight fit for a run.
Yeah.
So I have never untied my shoes at the end of a run, ever.
Never
could-
But I
untied
will
them.
always untie and retie when I put them back on.
Oh, no.
Oh, really?
Sarah. What? Oh, no.
I am a toe
hasn't
on
gone
the
down well.
foot.
Put
Put them off.
I wouldn't be able to get mine off without
Flex.
untying the laces.
Oh, yeah, at the
Well,
end.
because I'm too old and I can't bend down to do it. but I need one of those long shoe horns.
That's flexibility.
shoehorn.
That's a
Yeah.
slightly different thing.
Mine are locked in tight from when I'm running. So, there's no way I'd be able to slip them off. And so I would always untie, take them off, tie, and then put them back on and tie them properly. Look after your shoes.
Here's a question.
Yeah.
When you untie them,
Yeah.
do you tuck the laces in?
No.
Do you not?
No.
Oh, I thought that would have been a sad
Tuck the
little thing that
laces
you
in.
do.
Hang on, if you just
Well, to keep them tidy.
do a knot, why would you need to tuck them in?
Oh,
No,
you're
as in
saying
like when you
untie them
get to
put
the
them away.
end of a run.
Yeah.
I see.
Do you untie? So when you get home from your run,
Yeah.
do you untie your shoes?
Correct.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I don't do that.
Oh, well, I imagine that Rick actually unties his shoes, then puts them away very neatly in the cupboard.
Yeah.
Then
I'll
gets a
clean them
little
first.
gets a little handheld vacuum cleaner out. Gets any little bits of dust.
I do.
Yeah, I know. I'm not.
Oh my
I'm
god!
not joking.
It's really
are
noisy.
you also the person that has shoe air fresheners? So when you get in, it's just like
No, I have shoe cubicles under my stairs that are built for
I imagine that you
trainers.
have a little spray like they get at the bowling alley. Like,
I haven't, but I will
like
do
for
by next
ice
week.
skates.
Yeah.
come on, Rick. Let's get this
Anyway,
on track.
sorry.
Let's go.
Right. I'm Laura from Plymouth.
hello,
Plymouth
Laura.
in Michigan, in the
Oh,
USA, not
okay.
Plymouth in the UK.
Oh,
We're a double US question episode.
Yeah, on the podcast, you mentioned Sarah losing her running mojo, which happens to me a lot. What are the tips to avoid your running mojo disappearing or getting it back when it's been lost?
We sort of covered some already in this podcast. I think that the having a race to aim for and then doing that with someone else of a similar ability. Clearly, Sarah said it was a way of running a perfect race, but it's also the way to be motivated. It doesn't have to be a competition on time like you and Tito made it,
Yeah.
but it can be we're striving for this same goal. And there's very few things in running more rewarding than that power of shared experience, I don't think. And that's what gets me out the door now, is to like go and run with other people.
I do think, I think it's having something to aim for, whether that is like, are you going to go to parkrun most weeks? So you know that every Saturday you've got something in the morning that you're doing. That's going to motivate you for the rest of the week to train so that you're not turning up and finding it harder.
Yeah.
Or are you putting in little milestones throughout the year of like signing up to a race with your friends? Or are you going to go into a training block for a certain section of the year? I think it's a podcast favourite word, chunking.
Yeah.
You can't just running for the sake of running 365 days a year is quite hard in terms of mojo.
You're right. Yeah, and make a weekend of it. Find your favourite Tim Hortons. And basically,
to be fair, I think there's only in the
so
south.
we're going to go for lunch afterwards, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, make a thing out of it.
And routine's a big part of it. I
Yeah.
think it's really hard to stay motivated when you're ad hoc just deciding to go for a run. So give each run a purpose. So that's the structure in your week, whether, it's an easy run, a tempo run, an interval session, and a long run.
Yeah.
Then structure that into your week so that you know what days those things happen on. And then after a few weeks, that will be a natural routine that you fall into, which automatically motivates you rather than you having to be like, am I going to do something today? Maybe not. I don't know. That's what makes it really difficult for me.
Before we go, coming soon to a podcast feed near you, the Running Channel meets.
Oh, are we actually announcing it?
Yeah, we are. Let's do it. Rick's done it. The Running
We
Channel
are.
meets is coming.
Straight in. So what is it, Rick?
So the Running Channel meets is when we meet inspirational runners and they tell us something that we don't really know much about that's happened to them.
That they've never told before.
They've never spoken about before. And we get into that in depth and chat it through. So it's not necessarily really well-known runners who've run in the Olympics. It's people who love running and running has done something to them or changed them in some way. We've got some really great guests and it's going to kick off soon. But maybe you'll listen to this and you're thinking, you know what? I think that sounds like me. I've got a really good running story. Let us interview you maybe.
Yeah, email in podcast@therunningchannel.com. What is your running story? Why do you think we should speak to you? And what do you want to share? We'd love to hear from you. Or is there anyone that you want to nominate or anyone that you might follow on social media who you want us to talk to? Let us know.
Good favour. Very good favour.
And you've kind of taken the
Double
favour
favour?
for the end. But my favour is just share. If you've enjoyed this episode, please do share it with someone else. Because like we say, we're on the hunt and this is the hunt for guests. So please do share this episode so that we can get as many runners and speak to them as possible.
Yeah, and it could be famous runners or people who are famous who also run, or people who aren't famous at all but just have an incredible story and that should be out there.
Who's the person that we would get on that you would go properly starstruck for? Because you keep saying, like, doesn't have to be a famous runner. Do you have someone in mind who's a famous person who you're like, I'd really like to speak to them?
Really embarrassingly, I want to go high. I want to aim high. I want to get Ryan Reynolds in. I don't even know whether he runs. I just think he's the coolest guy in the world. Next time he's over for Wrexham, I think we need to get him on. We should just go and gate crash.
He's
Wrexham's.
gone high. I mean, I
did watch a Ryan Reynolds film last week, so...
Yeah. I think basically we're halfway there.
Yeah.
Sarah, who would you go for?
Oh, currently,
Yeah.
Richard Grant.
Richard E. Grant.
Richard E. Grant.
Yeah. There's a bid in.
Just the,
we're trying.
The zest for life that man has.
Yeah, he's great.
I want to speak to him.
And everybody knows mine, so we'll just finish there.
Kirsty Allsop.
When we get her on, we're going to play her all of these little snippets and then be like, so Rick, what's your first question?
if anyone out there has a genuine contact for Kirsty Allsop, and if you're from a country
if she
that doesn't,
runs,
well, hey, I don't know if that's relevant right now.
Yeah, but you
Rick
know
needs
what,
to go on a run with her.
You know what you two will do? That week will be the one that I sit out of.
yeah.
100%.
For context, Kirsty Allsop presents incredible programs, most famous for probably location. So Google that if you're not sure who she is.
Yeah, get involved. And we'll see you next time.
We'll see you then.
Bye.
Bye-bye.